What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. Now it's the last Raw of August, and with Monday Night Football fast approaching, will the WWE do anything to get fans invested in the red brand? Well, join us now as we look at this week's edition of Raw, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Adam Cole's WWE status, Vince McMahon apologized to a superstar, when Sasha Banks is returning to the ring, Braun Strowman drops a huge hint about his future, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now, as always, we won't recap the matches, but just provide you with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, Priest's push. A newly crowned US champion Damian Priest is getting a huge push, and rightfully so. He has the talent, charisma, and drive to become a solid upper card player, and may even make his way into the main event. But for now, the WWE is doing everything right with pushing the Archer of Infamy. They're booking him into matches with the right opponents and the right teammates, as well as giving him sufficient television time without overexposing him. Priest's willingness to bring back the US Championship Open Challenge isn't a guarantee that the US Championship has become a big belt again, but it's a good start, especially with Priest getting a pinfall win on the two-time WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. And number 2, an exciting match. The WWE Universe has a great tag team with RK Bro, and as fun as the interaction is between the very different personalities of Orton and Riddle makes things, the matches are equally entertaining. Last night's showdown between the champions and the team of the WWE and MVP was a solid main event, with MVP showing he's much more than a manager. Despite the inevitable outcome of MVP counting the lights, the match was fun and entertaining. It also served in foreshadowing a future Randy Orton vs Bobby Lashley match, something fans could look forward to after Lashley's match with Goldberg at Crown Jewel. But that was the good, what about the bad? As number 1, a multitude of missing matches. Now, we've often lamented how the WWE advertises matches in advance for Raw, preventing fans from having any reason to tune into the red brand other than to see how bad this week's episode will be. But in this case, the WWE did even worse, advertising a number of matches and then failing to produce any of them. Now, this isn't the first time this has happened, and it's understandable that an occasional match won't happen due to circumstances beyond anyone's control. But nonetheless, this week's show dropped the Miz vs Morrison and Lashley vs Sheamus matches from WWE.com, with PW Insider reporting that it was another case of Mr. McMahon shuffling the deck chairs on the Titanic, or revamping Raw's lineup at the last minute. Now, the results were obvious, and while it's understandable that fans might not want to see Lashley vs Sheamus yet again, the last minute changes rarely boost fans' morale. Imagine going to SmackDown knowing that Brock Lesnar was going to show up and he didn't. It's kind of going to get you mad, isn't it? Number 2, killing Karrion Kross. Now, what can we say about Karrion Kross's disastrous booking that hasn't been said already? We've already discussed Kross starting out on Raw with a loss, his awful new outfit, and his lack of direction. At this point, it's clear the WWE has bombed big time with the former 2-time NXT champion, and even the arrival of his manager Scarlett is unlikely to turn things around. But still, we live in hope and hope that she returns by his side very soon. Number 3, a real fight on Raw? Now, Raw's Nia Jax vs Charlotte match has fans talking, and not in a good way, as many people believe Jax and the Queen turned their match into a straight shoot. Wrestling News' Paul Davis shared some of the match's missteps. Jax held up Flair against the ropes and she followed up with hard slaps. It looked like Flair sandbagged Jax on a Samoan drop attempt. Flair then awkwardly ran the ropes, and then Jax tried the Samoan drop, but Flair stopped her before doing an awkward scorpion death drop. Now, it remains to be seen whether the match turned into a shoot, but it was an atrocious match that was an embarrassment to both women and the Raw Women's division. Flair is the Raw Women's champion and should have kept her cool, regardless of Nia Jax's well-known shortcomings in the ring. If things did turn into a shoot, the referee should have ended the match to prevent one or both women from getting injured. The Jax vs Flair non-title match should serve as a reminder why Nia Jax should not be wrestling in the WWE. Mrs. Potato Head's recklessness is well documented, and last night's match showed that she is as sloppy as ever. Some fans have suggested that the only reason that she remains employed in the WWE is due to her family ties with The Rock. Looking at her history of stumbling and bumbling in the ring, it's difficult to think of any other reason why she's being kept around. Now, at the same time, if this alleged match was a work shoot, it was an awful idea not only on paper but in execution. Even when the WWE hinted that Becky Lynch vs Charlotte Flair vs Rousey was a shoot, it proved problematic as Rousey's inexperience in the ring could have easily have led to an injury. Now, work shoots are always a bad idea, and putting Nia Jax into one defies any sense of reason. This was a bad situation that thankfully didn't lead to any injury. If the WWE is so gung-ho on pushing Flair as a face of the women's division, it needs to protect her from unsafe opponents. And finally, will Eva ever learn? Now, Eva Marie is awful in the ring. While that's nothing new, we can't believe that the WWE still puts her in the ring when it's obvious she hasn't learned anything since her last run in the WWE. Now, she was never known for 5-star matches, or even 2-star matches for that matter, so why was WWE pushing her so hard when she can't even sell from a much more talented Doudrop? Marie has something to offer the WWE as a personality. Raw has enough women to take a place in the ring. If they want an Eva Marie vs Doudrop feud, it should have had Marie enlist the help of someone on the Raw roster, or introduce someone else from NXT, denying Doudrop the chance for revenge and sparing the fans from another match with Eva Marie. Damn, that was such terrible selling in the ring. Now, there was nothing downright ugly about Raw, as it featured some good matches, but once again the show was all over the place with little structure. A show that fails to deliver on any of the advertised matches is never off to a good start, and Raw didn't come even close to hitting the mark. They have so much talent that it's difficult to book a show without some good matches. However, it's difficult to see anything on the show other than Damian Priest or RK Bro that was solid entertainment. What did you guys think of Raw last night? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Our first story looks at Adam Cole officially out of WWE. Adam Cole's status in the WWE continues to puzzle fans, as recent reports suggested as they were hopeful he might sign a new deal. But now both Fightful Select and PW Insider are reporting that things have changed. According to Fightful, Cole has not re-signed with the WWE and is now a free agent. PW Insider notes the WWE issued a memo on the 30th August that Cole was no longer associated with the WWE. However, Wrestle Talk is reporting that WWE sources indicate that Cole is expected to field offers and that he was not present at SmackDown on Friday and was not meeting with Vince McMahon, which many have suspected when he cancelled his Twitch stream. Now, while it's unknown just how much the WWE is willing to offer Cole to re-up with the company, Cole would be short-sighted not to check around and see what type of deal he can get. At the same time, fans should never rule out the WWE feeding disinformation to keep people from guessing what's going on inside Titan Tower. Next up, when is Sasha Banks returning? As the WWE fans continue to ask where Sasha Banks is and when the boss will be back in action. Now, according to a report from PW Insider, she isn't expected to be back this week, but the WWE is hopeful she'll return on the 10th September weekend, which is when they're running their Super SmackDown taping in Madison Square Garden. PW Insider noted that Banks was not on the road for WWE this past weekend. Unless there's any last minute change, we were told that she would not be returning this week either. Next up, Mr. McMahon apologizing to a superstar. And Mickie James' release from the WWE may not have been a surprise, but James was downright shocked when a WWE official delivered her belongings to her in a garbage bag. During a recent conversation with Inside the Ropes, James brought up a heartfelt apology she received from Mr. McMahon. When Vince McMahon called me to apologize when I got my stuff in the trash bag, it was a very sincere apology. My issue was never with Vince, because Vince has always been kind to me. He's always treated me with respect and with love, even when he was upset with me at Wrestlemania for this thing. When I look at Vince's life and my life, I think aside from the fact he's a billionaire now, our beginnings are not all that different. We're not very different people. I think I connected with Vince on a real level, on a human level, which is probably uncommon. Now, it didn't take Mickie long to find work, as she recently served as an executive producer for NWA Power's all-female event and appeared at Impact's Slammiversary pay-per-view. And finally, Braun's big bombshell. Now, last but not least, Adam Scherr, aka former WWE superstar Braun Strowman, recently tweeted that there's some big news concerning his career coming this Wednesday. He tweeted, "Wednesday at noon." Could Scherr reveal where he's headed to next? As reported last week, there are signs that he's headed for Impact Wrestling. But who knows, that could be a massive curveball and he could end up in AEW. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.